Dowell, I think I asked the same last week, but now with a few days to go before the opener, how good do you feel about this offense and the guys' knowledge of it? 100%, 90%, there's some things you're just going to have to learn during the game?
Well, first of all, I'm super impressed with that shirt. I like what you're repping there. We feel good. Had a very average day yesterday, to be honest, in practice. Today was a lot better, which that can happen when you're putting in stuff for the first time. You're going through a week for the first time. You're going against a service team, a scout team for the first time, still mixing in reps of good on good. So part of the process of going, obviously I felt better about today, and then we'll clean some stuff up today and move till tomorrow and put in some of the red area stuff. And I think we're on track where we need to be.
I know this is obviously Shane's call when you get to a game day, but with fourth downs, have you talked about that? Is that something he'll tell you before series? Hey, have you got 4 plays to call? How is that going to work, you think?
Yeah, we've worked those situations, even in scrimmages, the spring game, scrimmage in the spring, the couple scrimmages we had now, just where, hey, you get to the 47-yard line, you got 2 downs. Hey, you got 2 downs this series. Obviously, it helps when knowing that before the series starts, so you can plan that way. It changes the way sometimes you call third down or even second down. Because then you can call third down like second down. So, I think being a head coach for it's going on his 3rd year now, and he's got a good feel for those things, getting those things communicated to us.
Dal, we were talking with Shane yesterday about some of the oars, especially at the tackle positions, and I'm not expecting you to tell us exactly what it'll look like, but how confident do you feel about your offensive line heading into week 1?
There's still some question marks at a couple positions, and that's obviously one. We're working through some things, so some competition going on, and we're going to use the whole week to make sure that we make the right decision, the best decision for the football team.
With the new clock rules, I know you've obviously not called a game with any college football clock rules, but what have y'all done in practice to kind of get ready for the changes that way? And I know maybe it doesn't – they all don't apply to you since you're just play caller, but how have you guys tried to attack that and prepare for that stuff?
How we do everything, and just the scrimmages, making as many situations where there's a shot clock, there's a game clock, so we're going through the situations, not just this. This would be we've done this multiple times through scrimmages. Making sure we're on the clock, make sure the quarterbacks understand, make sure as a coaching staff that we're on the same page. So we've done those things.
Dal, I'm not asking you to reveal state secrets, but when you're building out a script to start a game, what are some things that you try to build and look at when you're trying to build a script to see what the defense might defend you like?
We like touchdown plays and no negative plays. No, there's a feeling out process that goes into that. It's a really good question. It's a very in-depth question that we can sit here and talk about for 45 minutes. But you need to figure out how they're going to play different formations. You need to figure out how they're going to play different personnel groupings. We know about them the same that they know about us. Like, there's some stuff from last year. There's stuff their defense coordinator has a resume. I have a resume. There's tape, so you watch that stuff and you figure out, hey, you better be ready to adjust, and you can't wait to halftime to adjust, and you better be ready in the second and third series to adjust. So there are definitely things that you put on the field to see, hey, how are they going to play this? How are they playing this? Like, what are they going to do this for versus this formation? What are they doing versus this personnel grouping? And you build openers that way, so it reveals some stuff to you, for sure.
In terms of the actual play calling, are there any big differences between calling plays in the NFL versus calling them in college? And how do you kind of prep for, doing that in a live game scenario this weekend?
The biggest thing, and it is a big deal, the coach to quarterback system in the NFL. To be able to be in the quarterback's headset and telling them stuff up until 15 seconds before they cut it off is a massive advantage in the NFL. I mean, literally, you could get on the ball and you're giving them information up until 15 seconds. So, and you can communicate more tips and reminders. Hey, be heads up for this. Hey, here's if you get 0, check to this. Like, hey, and you can check plays and audible plays a lot easier that way. So now when you go to college football, it's like, hey, and which has been done. I'm not obviously the first one to do that, but is how do you build a headset system? How do you build a communication system with your quarterbacks, so you have a ability to – well, you're not just calling out a play. You're not just calling out, hey, here's trips right, 19 Wanda Cannon with 18 support. And you're like, you can't do that. Like, I can sit there and say in Jay Cutler's helmet, like, hey, you got trips right, 19 Wanda Cannon with 18 support. And it's like, that's easy. But now in college football, you got to think about it. Everything is a signal. So then it's like a signal. So then it's like, hey, can you even do this? Will the game allow you to do that? So there are definitely complications or some drawbacks, to be completely honest. Like, it'd be awesome to be able to talk to the quarterback in his helmet, but you have signals. Then you got to worry about signal stealing and protecting signals and dummy signalers and all these things that go on with it. So it's just there's a game within the game that's different in the pro football. When I first got in, there were teams that did signal steal, but they stole it from the sideline because the defense used to not have a coach or quarterback. The offense would be sitting there talking. You watch the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning, and they're on the ball, and Peyton's got to play in a formation, and the defensive coach isn't signaling, and he's like, hey, over 2. And it's like, hey, it's over cover 2. Change the play. And so obviously the signal aspect of it in college football is a big deal. And so how do you practice that? Well, it's the scrimmages every day at practice. We're on headsets. We're signaling, and doing those different things so that our guys. It's also there's difference for a player in the huddle hearing a call versus being on the ball like a 2-minute situation and seeing a signal and understanding that as well. And then you got wristbands, and hey, so when you're huddling up, you can send, hey, Spencer, wristband 3, hey, flip 3, and like now he can call the play in the huddle to guys.
Dowell, when you have special teams, like Pete has a lot of trick plays and production in the past, do you work with him to talk about, 3rd and 4th down calls? Is it solely yours? I mean, does it influence your play calling at all to know that you kind of have that in your back pocket, so to speak?
Most of the time during special teams, I'm with the quarterbacks to an individual, so I'm going to see the trick plays when you guys see them. And I'm excited to be part of that instead of being on the opposite sideline. So does that more goes into Coach Beamer keeping me posted in between the game or in between the series. Hey, we might do this. Hey, we might do this. Hey, have a 4th down call ready this next series. So it really is the head coach telling the special teams coach and myself what he wants.
It didn't sound yesterday like Shane was particularly pleased with the intensity in practice. Just from your perspective today, how were the guys in terms of their intensity and tempo and so forth?
Yeah, it was good. Yesterday it wasn't our best practice. We'd been off for 4 days as well. Go through a mock game, and we really hadn't practiced since Thursday, and so just to get the effort and intensity back, I knew today would be a lot cleaner just because I knew the break of what it was. It wasn't going to be the crispest, sharpest practice we've had, and it wasn't. Much more pleased today. And hey, look, those guys felt it from the coaching staff, and they felt it from Coach Beamer that he wasn't happy, and we weren't happy as a staff, and our veteran players understood that and answered the bell today, and today was a lot better.
Dal, I know you could probably say it's still the honeymoon phase right now, and you'll evaluate yourself after the first game. But as you've mentioned before, making that adjustment from the NFL to college with the hash marks, how would you say things have gone in terms of what you were hoping for this preseason as you head into the first game?
Yeah, I think coaching in the SEC and coaching in the NFL, as long as I did, there is no honeymoon phase. Like, that doesn't exist. And you guys help with that process, and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all the other message boards, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I played college football. I was an assistant for 2 years at Arkansas. I feel good about where that's at. Like, it is a process of, there's a couple things like, hey, you're trying to feel out like, hey, do you like this into the boundary? Is it a better play to the field? When you're studying defenses, there are field boundary defenses. There are formation of the boundary defenses. But, the 2 years of being an assistant in college football has definitely been beneficial for me that way.
Dal, you talked last week about feeling comfortable about what you had at running back and knowing what you had as you go into game week. What's the confidence level in that group and just this run game as a whole?
Yeah, it's more excitement to figure that out when we play and we put the ball down. And you really don't know. In the NFL, we got preseason games and we'd scrimmage another team. So you always kind of knew, hey, this is what we are. The one difficulty I do have is sometimes, like, only being at one spot, like – when I got to Arkansas, I thought we stunk. Like, it just came from the NFL. I was like, man, we're gonna be bad. We won 9 games, and so there's a talent. It's the NFL, the college football. I know that I'm excited to see how our guys perform when the spotlight's on. It's a game situation. We're playing against someone else. We're playing against a group that doesn't know everything we do. Obviously, you practice against these guys so much on our defense. Like, they know what formations we like. They know what tendencies we have. They know Spencer's cadences, and they get to hear play calls, and they're trying to hear everything in the huddle, like, hey, I think he said 19, like, trying to do all that stuff. So, I'm excited to see what it looks like on Saturday. I'm optimistic about it.
It'll be Clayton's job to game plan, but when you look at Drake May and you've worked in the NFL, is there anybody you can compare him to? Have you seen a quarterback kind of with the skill set like May specifically?
From what it sounds like he's a lot like Luck. Like, he's an extremely intelligent guy, can extend plays. He's got great lineage and DNA as an athlete, and just the stories you hear about opportunities he had other places and the loyalty he displayed to his school to stay there. I think it talks about a lot about the kid and his makeup and who he is as a person, and they've definitely got a good quarterback.
I would guess Spencer's probably at or near the top of the list of the things that make you optimistic about Saturday and how it'll look. But what are some of the things that give you reason for optimism?
Well, definitely 7. Just the ability he has, the talent he has, the work he's put into this. In this game can be very humbling, and there's really highs, and the highs are really high and the lows are really low. I just respect him so much for what he's gone through. And just like the prosperity and the adversity that he's dealt with in his career. And he's a kid that's worked really, really hard, and he's been at the top of the mountain, and he's also lost a starting job. And then got beat the way he did against Florida, and they come back and play the way they did the end of the season. So I think it reveals so much about his character, and who he is as a person, the kind of competitor and worker he is. So I'm really excited for this season for him. Like, when you look at it as a coach, you take yourself out of it. Like, and you start to like pull for these kids so hard. And what you want is my goal this year is to make sure Spencer Rattler has a really good season, because he deserves it. He's worked that hard. He's gone through prosperity. He's gone through adversity. I'm looking forward to season 4 of that. Like, I want these guys to play really well around him, so he has the type of season he deserves. And that's really important. You talk about how do you get good quarterback play. Well, you get the other 10 guys around him to do their jobs well. And we're like every team, we're going to have weaknesses. Well, a lot of good teams, we have strengths, and we got to play to our strengths and eliminate our weaknesses. And they're going to try to expose our weaknesses, and we're going to try to expose their weaknesses and use our strengths. And I think we have a pretty good feel for what we have on our roster as far as talent goes, and looking forward to seeing what that looks like against another opponent. So why am I optimistic? Because we got 7 and 17 and some other really good players that I'm excited to see play finally, instead of just spring games and fall practices and spring practices.
I know there's only so much you can glean from one game, but are there any specific things you're going to be looking for in terms of evaluating the success of the offense after the weekend?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be points. It's points per possession. It is one game, so it's the biggest game of the year because it's this game. The next week it'll be that game. But you need to start the right way, and we need to start fast. Versus a really, really good opponent. That at one point last year, I think it was 9-1. And so for us, we'll evaluate like we do practice. Like, everything gets evaluated. We'll go through it. Whether we win, we're going to have another game. Whether we lose, we're going to have another. Then we're going to get ready the next week. And it's dealing with the prosperity and adversity. I'm excited about our team. I know our team's confident, and I know that they believe in what we do. I know they believe in the head coach and the culture that we have here. And part of this process is you need to have confidence built through demonstrated ability. So those guys going and playing well and going on the road and doing it in an awesome environment will be just it's like a non-conference. It's a non-division game in the NFL. Like, it's really, really important. But there's going to be a lot of games throughout the season. Every game's important in this conference. Every game's really, really hard. So it's one game. It's a really, really important one because it's the first one, and we need to be ready to play. Coach, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.